Okay, it's very bright. It's very bright outside, and I don't want to frown. It's not good for my eyes. How are we doing? We're good. We're good. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Feels like I should have done something else. And finally, we're at the very last episode of the front yard swing, and as you can see behind me, it is complete. But before we show you the final verdict, we'll just take a look at the very last thing that I did. Well, the last few things that I did. One of the last things I did was I put some tape over the holes on the swing. It's simply because there's big holes where those screws went and water gets in there. Of course, that's not the best. I marked it off because I needed to make sure the screw locations are in the right place. I used the thin drill and I had to use a level here. I was using a level for the rest of them, but this particular one I just took my time, had to go from both sides. Had the experience of 3 others, so I knew what I was doing. I not only got it all the way through the first time on the thin drill, but it was pretty straight. And then I basically got the large 18mm drill bit and went for gold. You saw me there change the setting on the drill. At the top of my drill there's setting of 1 and 2, and 2 is fast, 1 is slow. The slow one has more torque. It's very good for getting through stuff like this. And I kept on using that level just to make sure I was going straight. It does have a tendency to wander, and of course when it gets stuck I just rewind the drill manually. Unfortunately, the drill hit those screws at the top, which I just covered with tape, so I unscrewed that and continued. I kept on going both sides with the large drill. I made my way through fairly quickly. You can see the amount of torque there that I'm trying to hold with my wrist. And I managed to get it all the way through. And I tried to get it out, but unfortunately the battery went dead. This is very common. It's like the theme of this build. The battery keeps going flat on the drill. I thought that that could be the thumbnail, but it's a little bit too obscure. I'm actually standing outside. This is the following day after I did other stuff yesterday. So I put it on a fresh battery and pulled it out. Did a bit more cleanup with, I think it was the spade bit, just to make it a little bit wider. And you can see that I just used the extension. Did I get it stuck on this one? I don't think I did. I put the threaded rod through. So I had to hammer this through. You can see me bashing it there. The small sledgehammer to do it. I didn't really want to hit it too hard because you blunt all the threads. A lot of people reckon that you should put the bolt on the end so the threads get protected. That kind of works, but sometimes you have to hit it too hard and you crush the threads, and it didn't matter. If I couldn't thread it in, I just cut it off because I had lots of threaded rod. They also call that all thread because it's a bar with all threads. Getting it all lined up and getting the bolt on. It's quite a satisfying part here, getting this last bolt on, because these bolts were what I hoped would be really simple. It turned out to be a lot more difficult than it ended up being. I didn't actually have a big enough socket wrench, so I had to use an adjustable wrench. Not a big fan of adjustable wrenches. They have a tendency to strip bolts because they slowly loosen, or they loosen it a little bit even if it's really tight. And I cut off one end with the multi-tool. I think at that point I'd already purchased a new blade, so it cut quicker. Although looking at them now, I didn't realise I hadn't cut all the way through this one, and then that one's pretty rough. They have rusted, but they're not rusting down. It should be okay. I have thought about painting them. I might still do that. The multi-tool came into its own here. Once I had a fresh blade on it, I could just slice through everything, but I was racing a little bit with the strength of the drill because I didn't want the batteries to all go flat, so I actually didn't cut all the way through that second one. Was there anything in this video that you didn't like? Well, just comment. And then we moved on putting on the eyelids. We drilled holes through this horizontal member, again with the correct sized drill. I used the level to get it nice and plumb, and I got those two drilled out fairly quickly. And then widen them a little using a bigger drill bit from both sides because it couldn't go all the way through in one direction. Threaded the bolts through and then bolted them up on top. They have washers on the top. I don't think they have washers on the bottom, but they definitely have washers at the top just to stop the nut from crushing the wood. Spread that surface tension out via the washer. That's generally what washers do. They spread that pulling force around, which leads us to the very last bit, the swing. I used rope here because we wanted to figure out what the ideal length was. Originally I was just going to buy a chain, but a stainless steel chain in itself is quite expensive, and I wanted to make sure I had the right length. So I've got the rope there. It's like marine rope. And I'll let Sebastian tell you about the swing. I don't know whether that's too high or too low, but yeah, well that works. I think I've just realised now that I sit on it, the reason why the height is so important here is because the swinging is a lot more gentle. So maybe I might lower the seat a bit, not for people my age. Well, there we go. This project is done. It's not totally finished, but it is close enough. Now, to be perfectly honest, this is a little short, and it kind of makes the swing really quick. You know, you're swinging really quickly. If it was taller, it would be more gentle. So, might have to dig this out. That's a whole different thing. And we're just trying the rope for the time being, but we'll probably get a chain. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me while you watch me struggle the whole way through this, and catch you in the next one. Ooh. Ooh. It's not so great for an old person. Oh. Crazy. If you're enjoying this video series, just give it a bit of a like. There is a playlist somewhere. And here we are a few months later. The swing is still standing, as you can see, and it has had a little bit of use, not a great deal, a lot less than I'd rather, but the main thing is it's holding together. Why wouldn't it? Nothing has rotten, rusted, well, a little bit of rust. I actually should try and cut the last bit off there. For the most part though, everything looks good. It is weird, these are stainless steel eyelids and they're rusting. But anyway, I'll give you a wider view of what you can see. Over time, this took probably about a month to build, with about 3 days a week. Doing the landscaping though took the longest. That took probably maybe a month and a half, because again, I wasn't doing it every day. But once that was clear, to do this took about a month, doing it 3 days a week. We haven't done anything further. We have obviously flattened out all of the bark a little bit more, but it is essentially untouched since we were here last. The amazing thing is these don't move. They don't move at all. It's not really going anywhere. A few splits showed up in the wood, but I think that's just the water getting in, drying, you know, those types of cycles. For the most part, it's pretty solid. It doesn't rack, it doesn't move, and sitting on the swing is just like you'd expect, just a swing. I do actually want to drop this lower. I actually want it to get quite low. We haven't done anything else to either area. While we were doing this, we discovered that when it rains, all the water pulls up around the back where all the stones are sitting. Then it starts leaking under the deck and then goes down into the foundations. So we have to work out how to fix that, because the water's actually going right underneath the house and into the basement area, which it has been doing for many years. But we need to sort it out up here. And in order to do that, I need to move the shed. So there's a whole bunch of other things that have got to happen at the same time. And for the most part, we never painted it. We could paint it. We would probably paint it black. Paint here actually has done quite well. This gets completely drenched in water, but no problems. No problems whatsoever. Nothing's really wrong with these piles. You can't really see where the bolts go. There's a little bit on this one, but for the most part, the rest you can't see. And that was kind of the idea, that it'll all be hidden. The black, thank you very much for joining us. We have been working very hard to try and get this finished. And it's always great when it has been finished. We have more projects coming up. Just off the top of my head, we're building a gate. We're installing some cameras. We're making a large workbench. We're making an armrest table, and well, there was more, but I keep forgetting because there's lots of things that I've filmed. Anyway, I hope this audio works out, and we will see you next time. And don't forget to subscribe to Rin Furniture, because I enjoy getting rained on.